Most realtors are working very hard. And if hard work built $10 million businesses, most agents would already be there. So, what's missing is not more effort. And in fact, I've watched average agents with average skills and average personalities quietly build $10 million businesses. While the agents that are very polished and have perfect websites, perfect business cards, they stay stuck and struggle to hit 5 million even year after year. And so, it's not about perfection and polish, and it's definitely not about working harder. And so then you kind of have to think to yourself, well, what is it? And what I can tell you is, early in my coaching career, I will never forget these two guys. I was coaching them, and their names are Nick and Alan. And Nick and Alan couldn't be further polar opposites if they tried to be. Nick was suited and booted, polished, looked the part. I mean, he was just in command of every single room that he walked into. And then there was Alan, who was more of a, the khaki pants and blue blazer type, kind of unassuming. And you could tell though, Alan was paying attention. And so I watched these two guys, and everybody was like, oh, it's going to be Nick by a landslide. He'll hit 10 million. And sure enough, it was Alan. So, what is the deal with who hits 10 million in sales and who doesn't? And what I've seen over the years, so I've sold houses, I've coached agents, I've built teams, and these patterns just keep reemerging over and over and over again. And there are 5 distinct things that I'm going to share with you in this video that I have learned over the years what creates a $10 million agent, and then the ones that don't make it there. And so, what I need you to hear me say is if you don't install structure, systems, and identity to hold $10 million in sale, it will not only feel hard to do, in fact, it will be impossible. So you've got to install structure, systems, and identity to hit that 10 million in sales. And so I'll share with you now those 5 things that I've observed over the years that make agents hit 10 million or not. And so the very first thing is agents that don't hit it, they don't own their pipeline. And so I can think of another agent that I coached. She was doing, around 6 million a year, really wanted to hit that 10 million plus. And so one day she comes to me and she's like, Marissa, business is slow. And I'm a curious person, so I'm like, let's dig into this. So what do you mean business is slow? And I started asking some questions, and I asked, how many leads are you qualifying right now? How many people do you have under agency agreements? When's the last time you've reached out to everybody, and how many times? And she could not answer. So then we dug a little bit more, and I was like, go ahead and open up your database. Let's take a look at this. And so I'm looking at it, and she hadn't contacted anybody in her entire database in the last 6 months. And so I'm looking at this and going, yeah, no wonder business is slow, because you're not following the system and the process. So the difference between agents, one of the main ones of hitting 10 million and not, is that they've got a very active pipeline. And what that looks like is literally, in my world, it's in front of your face because it's your paychecks. And that is the first thing you're looking at every single day. So agents that are hitting 10 million in sales or above every year, they have an active pipeline. They're getting reached out to regularly. They know exactly where everybody is, and they know exactly where their paychecks are coming from. So that is the number one differentiator. Own your pipeline or don't. Okay. What's number 2? So number 2 is they don't master, people that don't hit 10 million, they don't master the 5 daily jobs of a real estate agent. And they have no idea what makes them money. They don't know what to do all day. And so I can think of, this another agent that I coach, very talented, right? He's a very talented guy, but he hated follow-up. And anything that he quoted is like boring stuff. And he's like, follow-up is boring. And predictably, what he was doing. It was like strong month, dry month, strong month, dry month. And he's just riding that realtor roller coaster like it was his job. And so I sat him down and I was like, hey, we need to look at these 5 daily jobs of a real estate agent and really go over what do you need to do every single day that actually makes you money. And so those 5 daily jobs are lead generation, lead follow up, going on appointments, negotiating contracts, and then doing your scripts and role play. And so if it is not one of those 5 things, it is not making you money. And you've got to lead with revenue generating activities if you want to be a $10 million agent. So, big difference number two, $10 million plus agents, they understand and have mastered the 5 daily jobs of a real estate agent, implement them daily. The ones that don't, tell me, not going to do the boring work, up to you where you want to be. And that agent that told me they didn't want to do the boring work, as soon as I kind of explained those 5 daily jobs and that money actually comes from doing them, flipped a switch and got off that roller coaster. So then we've got the trend line going up. So that was an exciting win. Number 3. So what is the third out of 5 thing that I've seen these patterns just keep reemerging, right? Between people that hit 10 million and people that don't. And it kind of dovetails off of number 2 is they don't want to follow a structured schedule. Okay. So people that do not hit 10 million plus in sales typically are not following a structured schedule. And I've got tons of agent stories over the years, and I can think of these 2 specific agents that one, she told me following a scheduled structure was going to kill her creativity. And then I had this other guy, he told me, this is not why I quit corporate, right? I want to be my own boss, do my own thing. And, your schedule is what's going to show where you're leaking energy. And more importantly, not only where you're leaking energy, where you're leaking time and money. And so the difference between agents that hit 10 million plus in sales and don't, the ones that are hitting 10 million are following a structured schedule every single day. The ones that are not are kind of out there floating. And look, I get it. Like I used to have a 9 to 5 as well. And when I got into real estate and entrepreneurship, I was like, oh, this is so cool. I get to be my own boss and all these things. And then I realized, okay, so I traded in one boss for now I have hundreds called clients, which is cool, I guess, because if you piss off one boss, you're not gonna be completely unemployed. So that's cool. But then I also had this realization where it was like, as soon as I started following a schedule and very disciplined about it and putting on my schedule those 5 daily jobs of an agent, guess what happened? I actually got more freedom. And so that was kind of self-reinforcing where I learned, okay, if I'm diligent about my schedule and my structure, I actually get more time back, I make more money, and the energy it takes to do this business goes down. So 3 is an important one. So real estate agents that hit 10 million in sales, they're following a structured schedule. The ones that don't typically are telling me things like not why I got out of corporate and don't want to kill my creativity. So that is number 3. And then what is the 4th thing? So another kind of pattern that I've noticed is they want to rely on motivation versus systems. Okay. And so when I think of kind of back on some agents that I've coached that this one shows up, so they say they want to hit 10 million and they're not there. And I'm watching and they're using motivation instead of systems. And typically what that looks like is in a easy up market, they're high as a kite. They're probably blasting in their car, all I do is win, just no, you can't tell them anything and world is great. And that's easy, right? It's easy to stay motivated and up when things are going well. And then what happens, right? The market shifts because let's be real, the market always shifts. That's the only dependable thing in real estate, right? Is that the market will always change on you, and we've got to be prepared to kind of work with whoever the market is great with. So, right, market will be great for sellers, buyers, or investors, and it kind of cycles in and out of that. And so, once the market changes, then they're off usually high as a kite in these great markets, working off motivation. Market changes, then they come to me and they're just like, I don't know what happened. I hit, 12 million last year, and this year I'm struggling to hit 5. And I'm like, well, yeah, the market changed and you're relying on motivations instead of systems. And so as soon as I can get them back to following that structure, systems, everything starts improving for them. So agents that hit 10 million or plus repeatedly, right? It's a very simple, repeatable system to get to 10 million plus in sales, but you have to install it and work at it, right? The ones that are doing it regularly, they've got the system. It's theirs. They've mastered it. And then the ones that haven't quite been able to figure that out or unlock it, they just keep looking and leaning into motivation. So definitely follow a system. Okay, number 5. So what is this kind of last pattern? So I've revealed these kind of 5 patterns that I've watched over the years coaching agents and then being a top producer myself. And so what's kind of that difference of $10 million agent and an agent that never hits that? So this is a big one that I don't think a lot of people think about, and it is one of the most critical parts to it. And that is they don't develop the identity to hold that 10 million in sales. Okay. And so being the person that raises their hand and says, yes, I want to sell 10 million or more in real estate every year, you're already making yourself abnormal in the best possible way, right? You're raising your hand, you're saying, I want more out of this life and business. And it's a unique place to be in. And sometimes it's just misunderstood. And so you have to really do that identity work on a very core level to get yourself to be able to hold that. And so one of the saddest patterns I see is agents will hit 10 million in sales and then they start self-sabotaging because they didn't do the identity work to build and hold that amount of production. And so this can look like expenses creeping up, lifestyle creeping up. They can start shrinking and contracting instead of expanding. And the ones that, hit 10 million and then keep growing year after year, they've done the identity work. And then one of the easiest questions, there's actually 2. I want to share with you 2 questions that I ask agents to see where they're at with this identity work. And the first question is, what makes you proud to be a salesperson? Okay. What makes you proud to be a salesperson? And it's a differentiator. The agents hitting 10 million, they can easily answer that question for me. No problem. You can feel it. They light up. They're proud. And then the ones that haven't done the identity work, they shrink. And some of them even tell me they're not a salesperson. And I'm like, I'm gonna fall on the floor. I'm like, if you're not a salesperson, what are you? We are in real estate sales. So what makes you proud to be a salesperson? Okay. If you can answer that, light up, feel proud, you're on the right track with doing some of that identity work to hold 10 million in sales. And then the second question, I kick off every coaching session with this. I'm like, I call it the $300,000 CEO question. And it goes like this. So you assume that you are the $300,000 CEO of your real estate business and you're writing the checks, right? You've got to write the check and pay yourself this amount of money. And then I ask, just simply based on yesterday's activities of what you did, would you keep yourself employed? Would you fire yourself or give yourself a raise? So that's it. That's the $300,000 CEO question to see if you are, I call it, does your audio match your videos? So it's like, did you do what you say you were going to do? Did you keep those promises to yourself and to your clients? So you're the $300,000 CEO of your business. Look back on what you did yesterday. And did you do what you said you were going to do? So it's, are you giving yourself a raise? Are you firing yourself? Are you keeping yourself employed? And then I'm looking over at my my little bookcase over there, and I also have 2 things we call them: the jar of awesome and then the F it bucket. Okay, so jar of awesome, this is that identity work. You want to celebrate all of your small wins, right? Big wins, small wins. You want to 10x your contributions to that jar that you do the bucket. And then what we do with the bucket is anytime, we're in sales, so stuff happens, right? You get punched in the face, not literally, but proverbially, I can't say that word, but you know what I mean. Get punched in the face. And so what do we do there? We write it down, we give it a 60-second funeral, and then we chuck it in the bucket and roll on. And we remind ourselves, if it's not going to matter in 5 years, don't give it more than 5 minutes today. And then another technique that we do, and this is identity work. And why I'm sharing all this with you, because identity work is one of those sleepers where you can start implementing the systems and the structure, and business will improve, no doubt. It will absolutely improve with systems and structure. But then, if you do not install this identity work, you won't be able to hold it, okay? Because you haven't grown into the person. And it's kind of like, they always say, like, I don't remember the stat, it's like 80 or 90% of lottery winners, they go bankrupt within just a very short amount of time. And it's because they go from like nothing to gajillionaires and they don't have the systems and the structure and the identity to hold it. And it is the exact same with getting agents into 10 million of production. So make sure you're doing that identity work. And there's some more techniques, but those are some pretty critical ones for you. So the what makes you proud to be a salesperson, ask yourself the $300,000 CEO, and then use the jar in the bucket to kind of keep the wheels on the bus, right? And we do some other stuff like minimum standard, standard of excellence, autopsies. So there's a bunch you can do, but those are the some quick ones to help you start really building into that identity. And so to recap, the pattern that I've seen year after year, agent after agent, with who hits 10 million in sales and who doesn't, it's these 5 things, right? So agents that don't hit it, they're not focused on their pipeline. They're not looking at it every day. It's got to be in front of your face. Number 2, they never master the 5 daily jobs of a real estate agent. Number 3 is they're not following a structured schedule. 4 is they're relying on motivation instead of systems. And then 5 is not building into that identity. So patterns are fun because you can pay attention to them. And then once you know them, what do? You just start working with them. And then you start installing structure, systems, identity to hit 10 million in sales. And so if you made it this far, thank you. My next video will actually be, we're going to do about confidence building, because confidence is also very important. So next video, check that out. It'll be about confidence. And then if you enjoyed this one and you're like, yes, Marissa, I want to do structure, systems, I'm into it, identity work, yes, I've got a free download for you. And what it is as soon as a new lead comes in, it's the protocol. So a new lead comes in and it's like, bam, what do we do? What needs to happen? Immediately, first day, within the next 2 weeks. It'll give you, go ahead and download that if you're into starting to get into some structure and systems. And like I said, it's the what do you do when a new lead comes in? And when you're ready, you're always invited to join me in group coaching. And see you soon.